Hello, and welcome to episode 33 of the Casual Tryhard podcast. I'm Brian.
And I'm James.
And we weren't sure what we were going to talk about today, but then Wizards gave us way more content than we were expecting.
Oh, yeah, they had a hand grenade, and they pulled the pin and just, threw it in the middle of everybody and ran.
Yeah, they're like, you figure this out.
Yeah, good luck. So we have a ton of content. This episode is probably going to go a little long. We'll see what happens. Yeah. Bear with us.
So if you want to get a hold of us, you can tweet us at Casual Tripod.
Yep. You can hit us up on Facebook, Casual Tryhard MTG. You can also email us at show@casualtryhardmtg.com. And you can check us out on YouTube at Casual Tryhard MTG. So
our weekend, before we get to the bands, was spent at an MCQ on Saturday.
Part of it was, yeah.
Yeah, not as much as we would have liked.
Yeah.
So we drove 2.5 hours to play Hogaak.
Yep.
And win one match between us.
Yeah, I beat Fish.
I won one game, and that was due to my opponent not de-sideboarding.
Oops.
Yeah, it was rough. So we played Hogaak, like I said.
I think the exact same list, maybe one card different.
Yeah, we were pretty close.
Yeah.
So the thing that we did, it's kind of maybe my fault, was we settled on playing 4 Assassin's Trophies as our main deck removal.
Yeah.
Partly in case people were like, I want to play main deck ley lines.
Right.
And it's just a general catch-all answer. There were a few times they got stranded in hand.
Yeah, I had a couple times where I kind of wish there was something else. And a couple times where, Assassin's Trophy is just too slow. Your mana's too constrained to, take a turn off to cast Assassin's Trophy.
Yeah. Now, in our defense, the guy who won the GP...
Yeah.
Did you see what his list was?
It was one of everything, right?
Yeah, it was the meme, one of everything in the flex slots.
Yeah.
So it was one altar, one fatal push, one lightning axe, one assassin's trophy, one of something else.
Yeah.
It was just it doesn't matter.
Yeah. That's pretty much exactly what he said, too. He came in second at GP Birmingham last week, right?
I don't remember. Simon Nielsen?
It's the same guy.
Yeah, okay.
And that's pretty much what he said in his interview was, those slots just don't matter, so I put one of everything in there. You just sideboard them out anyway, so.
Yeah. Yeah, which I, left my Assassin's Trophies in and sideboarded in more stuff.
Yeah, most of the time I left them in. I shaved on them a couple times, but obviously it didn't help me.
This is something I think we can talk about as maybe a learning point, and maybe when the best deck isn't the best deck for you.
Right.
I'm competent at playing graveyard strategies.
Yeah,
that's not going to matter here in a little bit.
Yeah. I've certainly played some graveyard strategies in the past, and I felt comfortable enough with the main lines of the deck. But we had a talk on Friday where when I played this deck at FNM, I made a mistake, and you pointed it out, and I realized what my mistake was. I made that same mistake on Saturday.
Yeah.
So I think reps had something to do with it. We just didn't have the time in, and that kind of leads into what you were saying, where sometimes the best deck maybe isn't the best deck for you.
Especially when it's had its time, and then everyone starts gunning for it.
Right.
And I think that we had enough time to play the deck to get good at seeing when we had the A plan of just slam a big Hogaak.
Yeah.
And hope that it's good enough. But we were less apt at seeing, when we got pushed off the A plan into the B or the C plan, to seeing how to properly execute that and make it work. Mm-hmm. So maybe there was an argument for, sticking with a deck you're more familiar with.
Yeah.
But the problem is that contrary to our experiences against Jund, that's not a great matchup.
We both got beat by Jund.
Yeah.
The Jund player that I played against had main deck Plague Engineer specifically for the Hogaak matchup.
Yeah.
I'm super comfortable with Jund. That's my jam. We'll talk about this in a little while also. But I think I made the comment immediately after the tournament that had I played Jund with the same matchups, I don't know that I would have had a different record.
Yeah,
I think my record would have been the same.
I mean, my Jund opponent had the Jund formula to success against Hogaak, which is I mulled to 5.
Yeah.
I had a 5-land, 2-spell hand on 7 and 6.
Yeah.
And then kept my 5 and got Thought Seized and Denial Spellbomb.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
And then I kept a functional 6, and he had a ley line. I didn't want to mull to 5 again and get blown out by.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, had the ley line. because like if you had another piece of graveyard hate, like I probably could have beat it, but not leyline. So yeah, I think that like just not having the time to learn those B and C lines and like kind of how to maximize your hands hurt. Also, you know, I know that good pros won't talk about being unlucky,
right?
But I didn't put my first Hogaak on the battlefield until round 3.
Yeah, I think the big thing going around was Frank Karsten's article about making a turn 2 Hogaak like 60% of the time or whatever. 60% of the time should have happened at some point for each of us in the 8 games that we played, and I didn't see one.
I did one turn 2 Hogaak, and then I did it 2 games in a row.
Yeah.
The first game, my opponent fetched and realized he hadn't de-sideboarded, so that game ended. And then I know you come here for the bad beat story, so here we go. So I had an Assassin's Trophy in hand. I was on the draw, and my opponent plays Thing in the Ice.
Yep.
And I play my land, and I have a choice. Put 15 power on board with my opponent at 15, or Assassin's Trophy, Thing in the Ice. And I thought about it for a little bit, and I was like, all right, this goes poorly if my opponent's hand is Manamorphose, land, spell, draw a spell.
Right.
All right. They're on like 6 cards, whatever. So, like, all right, they have to have Manamorphose because they don't have the mana to cast 4 spells.
And they have to have a land.
They have to have a land. So I was like, here's 15 power with the plan being untap, kill your thing, attack for 15.
Yep.
My opponent goes Manamorphose, and I was like, oh no. Step 1, Serum Visions, opt. Okay, I'm going to trigger, I guess I'm going to hold priority. I guess I don't know really how to do this. Disrupting Shoal, my own opt.
Whew.
To be the 4th spell to then flip the Thing in the Ice and put my 15 power back in my hand.
The old 3 for 0.
Yeah, it was rough.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, this is my tournament. I lost to Burn on turn 3.
Yeah.
I was like, well, these things happen.
Yep. I also lost to Burn.
So I think that like the meta game got a little more hostile.
Yeah.
Not hostile enough that they didn't put 5 of the top 8 decks of the GP were Hogaak.
Yeah, it was 5 of the top 8, 3 of the top 4, and finals was a mirror.
Yeah. So I don't think it was the wrong deck choice, but neither one of us have like 60 hours a week on Magic Online to GM Infinite Hogaak.
Yeah, I mean,
games.
if you listen to coverage at all, Ben Stark said everybody needs to play 40 hours of MTGO every week.
Did he say that this time?
He said it multiple times during the limited portion, yeah.
Wow. Well, doesn't he get paid to stream Arena? Like, I'm confused.
I don't know.
I am confused. But yeah, like there's like no way.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just gotta like take the L. I don't think it was the wrong deck choice. I just don't think I think I've played it like 3 times.
Yeah.
Before this weekend, and just like at F&M.
Right.
So 2-1, 1-2, 2-1, Dumpster Fire.
Yep.
Dumpster Fire at the MCQ.
Yeah, so. I mean, I think I had two events at the LGS that we go to that I went undefeated. It's small sample size, small tournaments, whatever. I was comfortable with it. I definitely did not expect to. You beat me once. Yeah.
Like we were both 2-0, and one of us had to lose the mirror.
Right.
Right, and I lost. I beat Burn, but I got lucky, and then just got like turn 3 and turn 4.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, cool.
Definitely wasn't expecting to end our day at 1:30.
Yeah, 1:30, go get some food, go home.
Yeah.
Yeah. The tournament was like 100 people.
Yep.
I think last time we kind of looked through I looked through my old pictures of the final standings, and at the end of the last tournament, there were 130. Like there was 134th place was listed.
Yeah.
So
it doesn't count people that had dropped before that, though, right?
Yeah. So anyone that was after 134.
Yeah.
That dropped didn't show up.
I want to say there was almost 200 people at the last one.
Yeah, so Hogaak did kind of depress the turnout. And just like we were on the way back, the modern event for GP Vegas last year was 2,800 people.
Right.
And this year it was 1,900 people.
Yeah.
So there was definitely like a Hogaak issue.
Yep.
Yeah, we kind of played what we expected.
Mm-hmm.
Back to that Thing in the Ice game.
Okay.
That was game 2.
Yeah.
Game 3, I do the thing. I just saw it in the notes here. Yeah. I Thoughtseize my opponent. I take a thing in the ice. I have a decent board, and my opponent plays.
Well, again, you had the choice to kill the thing or put power in play, right?
Well, no, I was Thoughtseize. I was turn 1, Thoughtseize, take thing. Turn 2, start to build out my board and get some power. And then turn 3, they played
Crackling Drake.
Enigma Drake.
Oh, okay.
Not even the good one.
Not even the good one.
And I then put out a bunch of power. And again, I think it was the same thing. I could have trophied it or something and say go. I'm at 11, and my opponent has 3 or 4 spells in their graveyard.
Right.
I was like, okay, I'm not gonna die.
Yeah.
Mutagenic Growth. Okay. Teamer Battle Rage.
Woo!
I was like, yeah, you got it. Take 14. I was like, huh. That's nifty.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was just a microcosm of my weekend. What is the worst possible thing that can happen on this turn? Oh, it did.
Yeah, it happened.
My human's opponent meddling maged me.
Yeah.
Then Vodalkin Nerd. And then
Deputy Detention. And then cast Grafdigger's Cage. That was turn 4. Ouch.
Yeah, I was like, huh. So there you go. There's Brian's bad beat stories. I'm not bitter. I swear.
I don't think I had the only bad beat story that I had that I can think of wasn't really a bad beat story. It was what the deck was designed to do. But my Jund opponent in game one, went discard spell, take my Stitcher Supplier. So I said, okay, I didn't have any more 1-drops in hand. Turn 2, discard spell, take my Satyr Wayfinder. Okay, this is getting awkward now. Turn 3, Plague Engineer.
Yeah.
So basically my deck was completely shut off. But other than that, like we said, the meta was just kind of ready for what we were trying to do, and maybe we didn't see some of the trickier lines.
I kind of contend that we drew in the bottom 10 to 20% of our hands.
Oh, absolutely.
And I feel like my opponents drew in their top 10 to 20% of hands a few times. I was just I can't do anything.
Yeah, my mills definitely had a significant lack of Vengevines in them.
Yeah. Don't be my round 1 opponent when after he beat me 2-0 easy. Went oh, so you didn't see him? Yeah, I didn't see him. I know I had him in my hand, and I decided not to cast him so you could win burn opponent. I was like, what are you talking about? Oh, I didn't see him.
Didn't see him.
Of course I didn't. The big thing that happened on Monday is Wizards had a banned and restricted announcement.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the 300-pound Hogaak in the room.
And there's what everyone thought would happen.
Yep.
And then there's
a whole bunch of other stuff.
They just went ham.
Yeah.
It's it's ridiculous how ham they went. Yeah. They usually ban a card.
Right.
They just were let's blow everything up.
Oh yeah, wide open. Like I said, they had a hand grenade, they pulled the pin, and they threw it.
Yeah. We'll start with the one that no one cares about.
Yeah. Rampaging Ferocidon is now unbanned in Standard.
Yeah, but not in Best of 1 on Arena.
And not until September 4th on Arena.
Yeah. There are no paper tournaments.
Right.
That play Standard, so no one's going to be dinosauring anyone.
Right.
Their argument was that seemingly that Scapeshift just smushes the mono red decks.
Yeah.
So they needed some way to kind of get mono red decks back at parity. I guess we should say Rampaging Ferocidon for those of you who haven't ever played it.
Yeah, I guess it hasn't been legal since we started doing this podcast.
It's 2 and a red for a 3/3 dinosaur.
With Menace?
Yes.
Yep.
And it says whenever a creature comes into play, Rampaging Ferocidon deals 1 damage to that creature's controller, so it's a symmetrical effect.
Yep.
And players can't gain life.
Right.
Yeah, so you Scapeshift and get 14 zombies and you take 14 and then die.
Right.
And you getting gain life lands don't matter because you can't gain life.
Right.
They were saying that basically Scapeshift has pushed red down, so we need to make red decks better, which I don't know, I think it's kind of funny when red decks were 20% of the meta, you weren't at any point being we really need to make these red decks worse.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just kind of the timing is kind of funny because nobody cares.
No one cares.
I've got it in the notes here that the most likely outcome is crickets.
Yeah, no, it's not going to change anything.
Yeah. They
also said it'll help against the vampires decks because the vampires decks have a lot of incidental life gain.
Yeah.
But again, no one cares.
Right. Who's other than on Arena, who's playing Standard And if this doesn't go into effect until September 4th, that's 2 weeks before Eldraine's going to be on Arena.
Yeah, like you're just going to have, like no one's going to bother with it.
Yeah.
But it's funny. So, like, but we can say we have one less card on the standard ban list now. Is there any cards on the standard ban list now?
No, I think that was it.
Like, they could have taken it off 6 months ago, and maybe
Yeah.
that would have mattered.
Yeah.
Right, I guess it's another 3-drop for Gruul or Jund dinosaurs, but,
Yeah.
like, I don't know how much that matters.
It probably doesn't.
That was surprise number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Was they were just like free the Ferocidon.
Yep. Surprise number 2.
Well, no, not surprise.
Yeah, I was making a joke.
Yeah, is Hogaak went away.
Yep. Surprise to nobody.
Yes, I feel as though it's pretty evident why Hogaak went away.
Yep. Everybody knows it had to go. Everybody was expecting it. That's fine.
Now, the second surprise, the real surprise.
There's 2 more surprises.
Yes, is they banned Faithless looting.
Yeah. Did not see that one coming.
No, I am not pleased with the decision. Does anyone want a foiled modern dredge deck? Because I have one that's unplayable now.
Well, I mean, you can still play them in Legacy.
Fair. I will have to get some.
Most of the deck is playable in Legacy.
Have to get some gold. But is the deck really playable in Legacy?
Not
It is
really.
legal to be sleeved up
Right.
and to go 3-6 in your Legacy GP.
I don't know. I mean, Dredge surprises people once in a while.
Once in a while. They banned Faithless looting, and they said that part of it was that graveyard decks have been super successful
Yeah.
recently, and there's been a lot of Faithless looting decks.
We've also said on the podcast in the past, and like also in our personal chats and in our group chats or whatever, that we think part of the issue might be that graveyard decks aren't necessarily fun to play against. Not that they're not fun to play against, but people don't like playing against them.
Yes, I think I've said on the podcast
Yeah.
before, I think that they are way more apt to ban a graveyard deck
Yeah.
or a card that enables a graveyard deck
Yep.
than they are to ban anything else.
Right.
Because I think people complain about the graveyard decks more than they complain about kind of any other kind of deck.
Yeah.
Either the feeling that it's unfair, or that like, oh, my removal doesn't matter,
Right.
or whatever. It has a way of pushing out a lot of different strategies. Mm-hmm. But I feel like as a scientist, you have right. If you have multiple variables in your experiment,
Yeah.
you don't like change all of them at once.
Yeah, because you don't know which one actually did the thing you were trying to get it to do.
Exactly. And so in June, we had Modern Horizons,
Right.
which was 250, 300 cards into the modern format.
Yep. So that's 250 or 300 knobs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which, okay, they might not all be knobs, but, right, a bunch of cards. And then one of them was busted, and for 2 months, it's just been Hogaak Town.
Right. The whole format was combating Hogaak.
Yes. And then to be like, okay, let's take Hogaak out, and now let's see what the format does. But to take Hogaak out and to take Faithless looting out,
Right.
right? Like maybe there was a way that there wouldn't be as oppressive of graveyard decks. And
Yeah.
also the graveyard decks they said there was a lot of Faithless looting decks. But the thing is you have, is it Phoenix, which is a very different graveyard deck
Right.
than Mono Red Phoenix, which is kind of like Burn that occasionally throws Phoenixes in the graveyard. And then any kind of like Mardu Pyromancer deck, which
Yeah.
is basically
A
Jund.
value deck, yeah.
Yeah. And then you have Dredge, which is a graveyard like centric deck. But a lot of these decks that were Faithless looting decks were using Faithless to sculpt a hand, get rid
Right.
of bad cards in a matchup.
Yeah, just kind of dig.
Yeah, and
The same
like,
way like Brainstorm's used in Legacy.
yeah, but like incidentally would just put Arclight Phoenix in their graveyard, so they got
Yeah.
some value for it. It's kind of like putting Lingering Souls in your graveyard,
Right.
where you're not really giving up the card, you're getting to cast it again later. Yeah, they just have decided that all those decks just kind of got lumped together as Faithless looting decks.
Yeah.
And I understand that it's hard. You can't say like, well, we want to keep Faithless looting, but we don't want to have,
Yeah.
these kind of decks. So it's just easier to get rid of Faithless. But I think that this is the biggest ban in terms of like collateral damage
Absolutely.
that I have seen.
Well, yeah. How many tier 1 decks are gone because of this being our announcement?
Well, let's see here. We made a list. Dredge, which Dredge was tier 1 before Hogaak.
Right.
Phoenix in all forms.
Yep. So 2 different versions of Phoenix.
2 different versions of Phoenix. Mono Red Prowess played Faithless Looting.
Yep.
But
that was kind of only a deck because Hogaak was around, though.
Yeah. I mean, it might still be good.
It might be.
The Pyromancer decks.
Yep.
The like tribal like lightning
yeah, I mean that's
deck.
not really a tier deck, but
it's
it's a
even,
neat deck that can't exist now.
Yeah, it can't exist. Like there's no way for you to put the things in your graveyard.
Right. Yeah, I mean my point was just that. So we just rattled off 5 decks, including Hogaak, that were tier 1
that are now just gone.
That don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
That is a huge chunk of tier 1 that's just gone.
Yeah. And it just seems like it was a lot to change all at once.
Yeah.
To not give Modern Horizons a chance to actually impact the format.
Yeah.
Because it impacted it with 1 card. And then it was like, oh, hey, there are these Urza decks, but they're, 40% against Hogaak.
Yeah, and, we gave Ren and 6 to you guys and Plague Engineer, like stuff that sees some play, but not Hogaak numbers.
Yeah. So, like, they just don't know what the format looks like.
Right.
I think when I came over here, I was like, remember how they talked about all the testing they did of the modern format with Modern Horizons? Did they test Modern Horizons in a modern format without Faithless Looting?
Right.
I don't think so.
I doubt it.
Right. So, yeah, I just kind of feel like they may have gone too hard. Mm-hmm. Like, I was all for the Hogaak ban. Mm-hmm. I think that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody was. Everybody had already accepted it before the announcement happened.
Yeah, but I think the Faithless Looting ban, I think you were saying, like, is it that they were trying to make a good modern format, or because people complained about Phoenix before Hogaak, they were just like, well, screw it.
Yeah.
Let's just get rid of everything and you guys start over.
Right. Yeah, you guys were clamoring for a Faithless ban before any of this started. We're making a change to the format. Let's just blow it up.
Yeah.
A real quick aside before we jump into the next thing here is part of the chatter that I've seen, across various media platforms today has been people that have played, those 5 decks, and maybe not Hogaak, but the other 4 decks in Modern, especially people with a little bit less experience, trying to find substitutes for Faithless Looting in whatever deck.
Yeah.
There isn't one, right?
No.
So I just want to get out there and, because a lot of our listeners are, still mostly still new, still learning the formats and are coming to us for help, I'd kind of like to get out in front of this. Like Phoenix, you're not going to play Phoenix without Faithless Looting.
No.
Don't put Cathartic Reunion in instead of it. It does not support your game plan.
No, it's way worse.
Yeah. Dredge, there's no replacement for it.
No. Like someone in our chat was like, what about like Citrus Supplier? I'm like, I think Citrus Supplier is better than some options.
Yeah.
But like without Faithless Looting, like you don't have anything really to do.
Yeah, you can't get that deep. Like even on your worst Dredger, Faithless gets you twice as many cards.
Yeah. So it just doesn't do the same thing. Like it would be, so there's not like a clean thing there. I think that something to remember is the huge difference between like 1 mana and 2 mana.
Yes.
Right? People for the Is It Phoenix groups, I've seen people kicking around like Is It Charm, which is blue-red, what is it, like counter target non-creature spell unless they pay 2, deal 2 damage to a creature, and draw 2, discard 2.
Yeah, you get to pick one of those.
You get to pick one of those 3 modes. And 2 mana is way more than 1 mana.
Way more.
Right? Like
it's twice as many mana.
It's twice as many mana. If you think about Preordain,
yeah,
blue, scry 2, draw a card.
Right.
Banned.
Yes, too good.
They just printed See All Possibilities or Scour All Possibilities.
Yep.
1 in the blue,
yep.
scry 2, draw a card.
Yep.
Card's fine. Unplayable garbage.
Right, yeah. More than fine. That's unplayable.
Yeah. So, like this, it might even have flashback. Like it might be better than Preordain if the mana cost was 1 instead of 2.
Yep.
Trying to find like 2 mana
it's not going to work.
Answers, right? And like Cathartic Reunion, there's a big difference between like rummaging,
right,
discarding, then drawing, then discarding. Right? You have so much more information. You know what you need to, because maybe you discarded a land and a spell, and you drew 2 lands, and you would have much rather get rid of the 2 lands that you just drew than the cards you had to get rid of on the front end.
Mm-hmm. The other part of that, going back to what you were saying about mana costs, is specifically in Phoenix, when you're trying to chain together 3 spells for Phoenix or 4 spells for Thing on the Ice or whatever you're trying to do, you can't have 2 mana, like unless it's Manamorphose that replaces its mana cost, you can't have 2 mana spells in there. It just doesn't work.
Yeah, you have to get to like the first turn you can really return a Phoenix consistently would be like turn 4.
Right.
And like a 3/2 Hasty Boy on 4 is
yeah, it's whatever.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, your opponent's already set up whatever engine they got going on. It's probably too late for you to be applying pressure.
Yeah, I think that there's not clear changes.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying that Wizards isn't ever going to print something that's close or that people aren't going to try, but I don't think like just slotting in Cathartic Reunion or Tormenting Voice or whatever you're thinking of slotting in is probably going to do it.
Yeah, I think that the thing that you have to do, and it's hard, is it just be like Modern is a new format now.
Yes, 100%.
These old decks, these decks that were hit by these bans no longer exist.
Right.
Right? You can't like kind of tinker with them to make them...
They become something else.
They become something else.
Yeah.
If you try to keep them 90% the same...
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to get there.
Right.
Right. There's not enough to save anymore because the format's going to change drastically.
Yeah. Not saying you can't use, your cards in other places, but
yeah, I'm not saying like set them all on fire, but at the same time, you can't just be like, well, I'm just going to take out these 4 Faithless lootings for something, and my deck's going to be as good as it was.
Yeah.
Now, if you were like us and playing Hogaak, you knew those cards were all going away.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yep. You knew what you signed up for.
Yep.
All right, and then. The last big surprise
has
been something that's been coming for like 2+ years, maybe longer.
Yeah, I think if you go back and look at price history of this card, every single time there was a BNR announcement, this card has spiked the weekend before and then plummeted the weekend after.
And it really didn't spike this time.
It didn't, because nobody saw it coming.
So they unbanned Stoneforge Mystic.
Yeah.
So Stoneforge Mystic, for the uninitiated, let me grab one off the desk here. Is 1 in a white. I'm looking at the card. 1 in a white for a 1/2. So far, you're not worried about it being unbanned.
Right.
When it comes into play, you get to search your library for an equipment card.
That's pretty good.
And then for 1 in a white, you can tap Stoneforge Mystic and put an equipment card from your hand onto the battlefield.
That's amazing.
That is very good.
Yeah. So this little 2 mana 1/2 is both a source of card advantage and mana advantage.
Yeah. So the thing that usually gets grabbed with Stoneforge is Batterskull, which is 5 mana.
Yep.
For an equipment that has Living Weapon, which when it comes into play, it makes a 0/0 germ token
and attaches itself to it. Yep. The equipment gives the creature it's attached to +4/+4 vigilance and lifelink.
Yes. And what if your little germ gets killed?
You can pay 3 mana to return it to your hand.
Yes. And then you just and it has an equip cost, but has anyone ever equipped that card?
No.
No. It has an equip cost, I swear, but no one knows what it is.
Yeah.
So basically, it lets you play like a turn 3 4/4
with vigilance and lifelink.
Vigilance and lifelink.
Then you got the tutor up for free.
Yeah. I will say, though, the number of things that have been played in Modern in the last 2 years that are bigger than a 4/4 on turn 3 is super high. Gurmag Angler.
Yeah.
Go. Cool 4/4.
The other thing that gets grabbed with Stoneforge Mystic, though, are the swords.
Yes.
And, grabbing a Batterskull's good, depending on what the format's doing. Grabbing a sword with something to put it on might be better.
Yeah, it depends on what's going on.
Yeah.
The sword that normally gets grabbed is sort of Fire and Ice.
Yep.
When creature gets +2/+2 when it connects.
And Pro Red and Blue.
When it connects, you get to deal 2 damage to something.
Is it 2 damage? I thought it was just Lightning Bolt.
Is it Lightning Bolt? I thought it was 2. Whatever. And then you get to draw a card.
Also, Sword Feast and Famine's pretty good.
Sword of Feast and Famine is they discard a card and you untap all your lands.
Yep. And Pro Green and Black.
It's 2 damage to target creature or player, and you draw a card, which is good.
Yeah.
Wow. I just bought one today, heavy play for $45. Currently, they are listed at $76 on, what's it called? On Goldfish.
Yeah.
I made sure I bought it from TCG Direct because TCG will send it.
Yes, they will.
someone else may not be able to find it.
Oh yeah, I don't know where that card went.
Yeah, so Stoneforge, I think the hope is that Stoneforge is going to promote
more fair, longer
games where you actually get to play Magic.
Yep. So while we're talking about Stoneforge, before we get into breaking down new Modern, what kind of decks do you think Stoneforge is going to go into?
So we were kind of talking about it before. We basically have a lot of legacy, like Death and Taxes.
Yeah.
Right? We have Mother of Runes and Giver of Runes.
Mm-hmm.
We have Thalia.
Yep.
You have now you have Stoneforge Mystic.
Yep. Leonin Arbiter.
Leonin Arbiter to go with like a Field of Ruin, Ghost Quarter, like Mana Denial package.
Yep.
So you have all these pieces to like kind of port a legacy deck into Modern.
Mm-hmm.
In a similar kind of vein, there could be a humans-ish strategy that's less taxy, a little more aggressive, that still plays Stoneforge.
Plays more of like a disruptive aggro game than
kind of a lockout,
prison-y
kind of game. I think that you could, and this was the fear with Stoneforge initially, was I think you could see some like blue-white X decks that they are playing Stoneforge plus like Batterskull and another sword.
Yeah.
And that's how I'm winning the game.
Right.
Is I'm going to get one of these things.
So like a control deck.
Like a control deck.
Yeah.
Where you're playing like, Esper control or Jeskai control, and like you've got colonies to win the game, but you also have this 6-card package.
Right.
That sometimes will just steal you a game.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, if you get a Batterskull down against Burn, like,
yeah.
GG's.
Yeah, but you go like Stoneforge, get my Batterskull down, path your guy, attack.
Yeah.
Right? Now you're up life, you're up, you trade it, you got rid of a creature. Like, you can get ahead and just kind of hold it together, and then, like, Force of Negation, they're a Braid.
Yeah.
Or something, and now they're, like, super far behind.
Yep. Also, there was a deck floating around just after Modern Horizons that was like a Esper Mentor deck with like Unearths and Snapcasters and stuff. I think Stoneforge is a pretty good candidate for that deck also.
Yeah. Where that deck was more like aggro-y tempo value kind of thing.
Yeah.
There could be some new decks. I was thinking that like it might fit in like an Urza deck where it gets Sword of the Meek.
Yeah. That was my first thought, was it goes right into Urza.
Yeah, it gets batters. Like, you could play like 3 equipment, one of them being a combo piece, and then you have your like a Urza plan, but you also have like, oops, here's my Batterskull.
Right.
And that might be good enough.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a few things floating around.
And I'm sure that there's going to be new archetypes that are toying around with it also.
Yeah. And, I think our question is, is it good enough? I think with a lot of this stuff, a lot of times the first thing you can do is you can just start ticking off reasons why this isn't good enough for Modern.
Yeah.
And it's kind of hard to think about like Stoneforge not being good enough when it's been good enough in Legacy for years.
Yeah.
There's more removal in Modern than there is Legacy.
That sees play, yeah.
Yeah, that sees play. Right? Like, most Legacy decks have 4 or 6 pieces of removal. Mm-hmm. And then there's some that just don't play any because they just don't care.
Right, they're just like drag racing.
Yeah. Every Modern deck plays some amount of creature removal.
Yeah, even decks that like really can't afford to play it.
Yeah, and like, Jund is just a pile of removal and card advantage. There's a question of like, is it going to be good enough?
Yeah.
In that regard, like, you play your 1/2 and it gets lightning bolted. Now you drew an extra card, but if you never get to your 5th land,
right, they didn't really do you any good.
It didn't do you any good. Yeah. And against Jund, they have to lightning bolt it, and they can Thoughtseize your Batterskull away. So you 2-for-1 them. But like, if you never hit your land drops, or like by the time you hit your 4th land, they can get around to Thoughtseizing away your thing. Or like, there's Kolagon's Command. It's like, okay, cool. Like, you got your Batterskull.
Yeah, kill your nerd, blow up the Batterskull.
Yeah, I'll let you play it, and then like we're even on resources.
Right. Well, actually, Jund comes out ahead in that because it costs less mana to do that.
Yeah. So maybe it's not good enough, right? Because we were saying like, don't you just like, if you put a Batterskull into play against Infect, don't you just die?
Yeah.
My Burn opponent killed me on turn 3 without attacking.
Yeah, that's insane. I mean, that's a kind of a nut draw for Burn too, but.
I mean, but that's like, that happens, and like Burn's way more played in I mean, even like, so they burn plays more Searing Blazes.
Yeah.
And you're like, go get my Batter Skull. And they're like, land Searing Blaze your guy.
Yeah.
Lightning Bolt, Lightning Bolt, Lightning Bolt. Cool. I guess we're done here.
Yep.
Right. So like it could be, it's kind of like Jace, like everyone was afraid that Jace was going to like take over the format.
Right.
And Jace is in like one deck that's good-ish.
Sometimes.
Comes
and goes.
Right. But like, you have to really lean on like building a deck that lets you get to Jace. Right? It's a pile of removal and a Jace.
The flip side of this, though, is if we're building a modern format that wants to play a longer game and, you know, you're incentivized to play things like Stoneforge Mystic, Jace gets a lot better.
It does. It does if you're playing like a slow, grindy format where like you get to turn 4 consistently.
Yeah. And
you know that if you tap out, you're going to untap on turn 5.
Right.
Yeah, then Jace is really good.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, and Jace is a clean, in air quotes, answer to like Batterskull. Like your opponent puts Batterskull into play, and you go like Jace, down chick Jace, bounce to the Germ.
Right. Then they're stuck with a Batterskull in play.
Yeah, isn't Batterskull's equip cost like 5?
Yeah, I think so. It's a lot.
Yeah. So like it's not like they're just gonna like throw it on their Stoneforge Mystic.
Yeah.
Right. They're just like, oh, I guess I got stuck with. Now I just have this thing I can't do. I can't use. It'll be interesting if slowing down the format does, you know, if this does what they think it's going to do, which is slow it down. It bothers me, though, like, that I kind of feel like they've decided Modern needs to look more like Standard.
Yeah, I don't know if I 100% agree with the direction that...
Right, like they're trying to make it like an attacking and blocking format.
Yeah.
I mean, they've basically banned all the graveyard decks out of the format.
Yeah. So,
like, that's just a zone that you're not going to really get to interact with. And there's really not a lot of combo decks.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there's Storm, but, like, Storm has a god-awful Humans matchup.
Yeah.
So you can't do that. Are there any other, like, combo-y decks?
Neo Brand.
Neo Brand. But if Jund is, like, the...
Yeah, that deck just loses to a discard spell.
Like, yeah, every single time.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I'm on the play, I get to win. Oh, hey, I'm on the draw, I don't get to win.
Whoops.
Like, I feel like they've taken a lot of, like, that element out.
Yeah.
And I think that goes back to, those are the things people complain about.
Yeah.
Right? People complain that, like, oh, I sat down to play Modern and I got, like, turn 2'd.
Right.
Yes. 100% you got turn 2'd. But, like, that happens 20% of the time someone gets turn 2'd. Right, it happened to you twice. That's super unlucky. Well, that's not a reason to like ban the deck.
Right,
but like,
I mean, Infect can turn 2.
Yeah, but I think people dwell on like the bad beat, like, oh, I didn't get to play.
Yeah,
and they forget about the times where they're like Nia Brand opponent like
fizzled and you just squished them and then you never thought about it again.
Like, oh, they drew 21 and they didn't hit a Nourishing Shoal.
Yeah.
Okay, they died.
Yeah.
Or, oh, I thought seized them and the game ended.
Right.
Like, no one's like, oh, yeah, the deck's awful. They just remember the times they get like, oh, I didn't even get to play.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, but like 60% of the time, that person doesn't get to play.
Yeah, and they registered the deck.
Yeah, they were like, I am in for 60% of the time not playing because 20% of the time I'm going to feel like a god. Right, so I just think that like the combo decks / graveyard decks are the decks that are really gonna suffer. Yeah. Especially with like them trying to like build a modern format as opposed to letting the format kind of figure itself out. Yeah. Right. Because I mean, maybe we find out that without Hogaak, like Renin 6 makes it so you can't play fill in the blank deck. Right. Right. You're like, oh, you can't play Dredge because we can't play enough basics and they just ghost quarter us out of the game with Renin 6. Right. Or just like, you know, a little bit of graveyard interaction takes care of it. Right. Or, you know, Storm's unplayable because of humans. Like, people were talking about like banning Storm. Yeah. A point 2 years ago or something.
Yeah, and definitely didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
The problem sorted itself out.
Yeah, I think it's funny, like, Aaron Forsyth tweeted in January that like, oh, like the blue-white control decks have a really high win percentage.
Yeah.
We can't unban Stoneforge Mystic into this. And he's like, people keep telling me that this tweet didn't age well. And, you know, things change over the course of like 6 months. It's like, okay, so let me see if I got this straight.
Yeah.
We had a chunk where blue-white control was too good, can't have Stoneforge.
Well, even when blue-white was too good, you can't have Stoneforge, like nobody was calling for blue-white control bans.
Exactly. Then you have like 6 months where Faithless looting decks are really good. Mm-hmm. Let's ban Faithless looting. Then you have 2 months where you guys messed up.
Yeah.
And then the end result of that is, you know, let's ban Faithless looting because there have been way too many graveyard decks recently.
Yeah, and blue-white's not good enough, so here's Stoneforge too.
Yeah. I did point out before we started that Narset gets a Batter Skull.
It sure does.
Narset gets a sword.
Yeah.
Right? It's like in January, blue-white decks were too good. Here's Narset, Little Teferi, and Stoneforge Mystic.
Have fun with that.
Have fun. It's like, oh, okay. So it just seems like on one hand, Magic changes.
Yeah.
So we don't have to make this like we can do this change that we didn't think we could do in January. And it's like, okay, like what if you wait 3 weeks?
Yeah.
And then Eldraine comes out, and then like we've all run to some new non-faithless looting thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just funny. It seems like they decided that they wanted Modern to be about like attacking and blocking. Mm-hmm. And so they're like, let's attack and block. And it's like, okay, but I get to do that in Standard.
Right.
I get to like attack and block in Standard. So do I have to also attack and block in Modern like the exact same way?
Yeah.
Like this doesn't seem like it's not a varied experience.
Yeah. No, I agree, man. And, we've talked about bans on the show a bunch already.
Yes.
And I think we both have the same point of view, and we've, expressed it multiple times that we are both in favor of letting the format sort itself out.
And if it can't...
Yeah, then you do something.
Yeah.
Then you ban Hogaak. You don't blow everything up all at once and see where the fallout lies.
Right, like if you wanted to ban Hogaak, unban Stoneforge. Mm-hmm. Cool. Mm-hmm. I think that is reasonable.
Yeah, that's probably fine because, you knew what Modern was like before Hogaak. Like, even if you didn't know the rest of Modern Horizons, you knew what Modern was like before Hogaak. And if Stoneforge was okay then, sure, Modern Horizons is going to change that, but it's probably okay now.
Yeah.
But, yeah, to, ban half of Tier 1 out of existence at the same point while you're, unbanning potentially 3 or 4 more archetypes, that sounds dangerous.
Oh, before we go on, we did mention that Stoneforge didn't go up before the ban.
Yeah.
Stoneforge Mystic went from $20 to $30 to $75.
Yeah, so right before you came over, I hopped on eBay because I have 3 GP promo Stoneforges sitting in front of me that I need to make disappear. So I hopped on eBay to see what they're going for. And searching sold listings, the whole first page were listings from today. I didn't go past the first page. There are more than 50 that have sold today at more than $75.
Yeah. And a lot of the cards around Stoneforge, Batterskull.
Yeah.
And I got a Sword of Fire and Ice for $45, and they're $75 now.
Yeah.
Right after the ban, I immediately went on TCG and tried to find one.
Yeah.
And got one because that was the sword I know that you get that I was missing.
Yeah.
Now, will I ever play this sword? I don't know.
I will probably never sleeve up a deck with Stoneforge in it, so I am getting rid of these Stoneforges.
I have 2 World Wake ones and 4 GP promo ones, so 2 World Wake ones are going to go bye-byes.
Yep. Thank you, Wizards, for $250 that I will turn into a Mox Diamond.
Yes. So what are things that may get played afterwards? So we already talked about the Stoneforge decks.
Yep. We talked about some of the collateral damage already, some of the decks that no longer exist. I think Jun's great. Surprise, surprise. Mm-hmm. It was good before this ban. Ren and 6 gave it a huge shot in the arm, as did, like we said, Collector Oof, Plague Engineer. They're great additions for the deck. It's probably arguably in a better spot after this announcement. If Wizards is promoting longer, more interactive, mid-rangey games, that's what Jund wants to do. Yes. That's the only thing that it wants to do. Stoneforge is, I'm going to guess, a pretty good matchup for Jund, any of the iterations.
Yeah, probably. Because you're just a pile of removal spells that kills all their dumb creatures that can put on a sword.
Yeah, and the absolute best spell in Modern to retrace with a Ren and 6 ult is Culligan's Command.
Yeah.
And that just so happens to kill a Stone Forge and a Batter Skull or a Sword of Fire and Ice or whatever you tutored up with it. Like, you're not going to be unhappy to play more copies of Culligan's Command.
No.
So I think Jun's in a really, really good spot. Hogaak and Faithless looting leaving, slow the format down, let Jun give a little bit more time to build up and enact its game plan. It also lets you cut some of the graveyard hate out of the sideboard, which frees up slots to take care of whatever else is coming. Another reason why Jund is so good is it is way more of a 75 card deck than most decks are, and its sideboard is really important to like its game plan.
Yeah.
Like those flex slots are super important, and by freeing up 5 to 7 slots in your graveyard by getting rid of all the graveyard hate that you had to run in the last 2 months, lets you go up on Culligan's Command, Shenanigans, Ancient Grudge, Shatterstorm, like whatever else you need to combat, the Stone Forge or Wurza decks that are coming up. So I think Jun should be in a really good spot. Tarmogoyfs are cheap right now.
They are like cheap, being like, are they like $40?
They're like $40, yeah.
Which I know that doesn't sound cheap, but there was definitely...
they were like $150 when I bought them, so that's cheap.
Yeah, I got mine for like $80.
Yeah.
So they are cheap.
I know the rest of the deck's not super inexpensive, but if you're thinking, Jund might be up your alley, I would highly suggest at least picking up Goyfs while they're cheap.
Yeah, and you can like work your way up to the rest of the car that is that deck.
Yeah.
We already said that the Urza deck might want to be blue-white. Some of them are already playing Little Teferi.
Right.
So there are already some that have white in them.
Yeah, and if you're like Esper, that makes the mana better for Thopter Foundry, right?
Yeah. So that is an option.
Yeah.
We have humans here, but I think that might just be like a white disruptive, white-blue, white Esper like disruptive deck, because you could see a deck where you have Stoneforge, Meddling Mage, and Kitesail Freebooter as like your like disruptive package.
Mm-hmm. And you don't really need like the Mantis Rider, like Thala's Lieutenant package, because like Stoneforge on her, like she's good enough to apply pressure.
Yeah. And so you lose some of the human synergies.
Yeah.
Your mana probably gets better, so you can actually play spells.
Right. You're not relying on just ETB effects from your creatures.
Yeah, and so you have this like disruptive element. You still get Thalia, Meddling Mage, those kind of things.
Yep.
And then you have Stoneforge to be your clock.
Yep.
So those are decks that might like rise up.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that humans, like in the form that it exists right now, is going to go completely away. Like the deck is still good.
Yeah. I'm
not sure like what advantages. I'd have to see how people start building these Stoneforge decks to see like what advantages one has over the other. You know what I mean?
Yes. Then we have Phoenix. We think Phoenix is probably, as currently constructed, is going to go away. Yeah.
The only thought, because we have some friends of ours that really like this archetype, and the only thing that I was thinking was maybe, kind of like we said before, you can't really replace Faithless looting. So the deck, like as it exists right now, probably leaves. But like Blue Moon has kind of been a fringe strategy in the past.
Yeah.
And like when Twin was around, like Twin played a similar game plan, like up until when it comboed to what Phoenix does and what like Blue Moon wanted to do. So like maybe there's a world where you like Jace Vryn's Prodigy and play Blood Moon and kind of turn it into that style deck.
Yeah, so Blue Moon was like a blue-red tempo deck that would get a lot of percentage points from being able to play Blood Moon. Yeah. So they would play like a lot of blue-red duels that would turn into mountains, but they'd play a ton of islands. Right. So they could play Cryptic Command and stuff. So Blue Moon is a blue deck effectively that plays Blood Moon. Yep. So like you might get to keep the cantrips and the removal, and maybe you're an Aria of Flame Blood Moon deck. But like I don't think it's going to keep the same like Phoenix package. Like those cards might go away, and it might become like a blue-red tempo control deck as opposed to a blue-red tempo control deck that doesn't sometimes like put 6 hasty power on the board on turn 2.
Well, I mean, I don't think that's not going to be turn 2, but I don't think that's completely out of the question with Jace. Like that's why I specifically mentioned Jace Vryn's Prodigy, because like he can loot away your Phoenixes, whereas like when you Faithless, you got to have them in your hand, like to discard them. Yeah. Like Jace can do that over a turn or two, or over a couple turns. And then when he flips, like
he buys you spells.
Yeah, so you like Manamorphose, use Jace to give your Manamorphose flashback, Manamorphose. Now you've gone 2 cards deep. You got to find a card that you already have 2 mana for. Like, I mean, it's going to be pretty easy to...
Yeah, true. It's going to be slower.
Yeah, it's going to be slower.
It's going to be slower and a little more fragile.
Yeah.
But if you're like okay with that, like that could be someplace that you go, but it is going to play very differently.
Yeah. And I think that, like I had mentioned in chat earlier, that Blood Moon gets better when the games go longer, too.
Yeah, because you're getting more out of your Blood Moon. You're blanking more cards.
Yeah, I mean, if the game ends on turn 3, like, your Blood Moon probably didn't do a whole lot. But, you know, if the game ends on turn 4 or 5, like, your Blood Moon probably shut them out for 2 turns.
Yeah.
Like, slower games, more mid-rangey games tend to have more complex mana bases also. Like, Jund, Grixis, Jeskai, whatever. They all play a whole bunch of non-basics and not very many basics. So Blood Moon, you know, gets way better in those circumstances.
Like three color Stoneforge decks.
Yeah.
Like would just get locked out because they're gonna be blue, white, probably black or maybe red, but they're gonna they might get just locked out of games.
Yeah.
So Blood Moon could go a long way.
Yep.
And then we have Grixis Shadow, but I think we could just kind of throw like generally like
all the shadows together.
All the shadows together.
Yeah, so right now there's Grixis Shadow, Mardu Shadow, and I think Jund Shadow's still kicking around like on the fringes.
Yeah, the Traverse Shadow decks. Right. Again, like Death Shadow is just like a cheap big threat.
Yep.
And you know, if your opponent plays like a 4/4 and you play like a 6/6,
yep,
you win that exchange. Or like
especially when you left mana up to interact.
Yeah, or they like attack you for 4, and you're like, oh, yeah. Now my guy's 4 bigger. You can't ever attack again.
Yeah. So I think Shadow gets better.
Yeah, agreed. And you have here that like it gets to play Grixis versions get to play Kolaghan's Command, which helps dig you.
And
Mardu as well gets to play Kolaghan's Command.
And Jund. So like all of those Jund.
They all get to like play
variants.
Kolaghan's Command to help dig you your card advantage back from Stoneforge.
Yep.
I think another deck that gets better we don't have on here. It's not like a new deck, but Tron.
Yeah, I didn't put Tron on here because I like to pretend Tron doesn't exist. Nobody plays Tron in our store, so
yeah. But like the London Mulligan combined with you're not gonna have these Hogaak decks that are super fast,
right?
And you're not gonna have all these other decks in the format that are trying to race.
We should also take a quick minute to remind everybody that Tron won the last Mythic Championship.
Yes.
Where Hogaak was the most played deck.
Yes.
So just keep that in the back of your mind.
It also had to, play ley lines it could never cast.
Right.
But true. So I mean it was a good deck 3 weeks ago.
Yep.
And if the format moves to more mid-rangey stuff and they're just like turn 3 Karn, which they get to do more consistently because
of the Mulligan rule.
Yeah. Right, that's going to be a deck that's going to be around.
Yep.
We'll probably skip some modern metagame stuff for a while because it's just going to be like a mess. There's not going to really be a metagame.
Yeah, like the metagame's going to work to shake itself out over the next couple weeks, and then we get Throne of Eldraine.
Yeah.
So like we'll be talking about Throne of Eldraine for standard or whatever. So maybe after Eldraine drops, we can circle back and talk more about the modern metagame.
Yeah, I think until Eldraine comes out, I think there's going to be like kind of 2 things going on in modern.
Yeah.
Everyone retreating back to the decks that were good 3 or 4 months ago and playing those, and then people playing good to awful Stoneforge decks.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out what is actually like great.
Yeah.
But there's going to be a lot of Stoneforge decks running around for a while. The same thing happened in Legacy when they banned Deathray Shaman.
Deathray Shaman, yep.
Right. Everyone was like, well, what's been the most powerful deck forever? And it's like, oh, Sneak and Show. So everyone played Sneak and Show for like a month or 2.
Until the format figured itself out.
And so it figured itself out. And they're like, okay, now I know what I can do. Yep. I can start playing other things. But everyone was like, well, what was good before? And we just kind of came back.
I agree.
So if you missed out on having random Stoneforges like laying around in your life, what are some other cards we could maybe look to maybe get in now before the format sorts itself out that we might be able to maybe make a quick buck on?
So maybe to afford your Stoneforges?
Maybe so you can get some Stoneforges.
The first thing that I have is, I mean, they're not super cheap right now, but if Stoneforge sees play, they're going to go up because it is the best answer for Stoneforge, and that's Kolaghan's Command.
Yeah, what are they? Are they like $15 or $20?
Yeah, I think they're like $15, something like that. Yeah. And they only have one printing. Dragons wasn't printed as much as Cons was.
No.
Because Cons had fetches, Dragons didn't. It wasn't opened as much. So I would expect the, even for like a standard legal set or whatever, the supply is probably going to be less than the sets around it. It was a good card before the ban. It's going to be a better card after the ban. A whole bunch of decks get to play it. So Culligan's Command is definitely one that I think probably goes to at least $25, if not more. Another one that is really cheap right now that we'll probably see play because of the Stoneforge unban, I think is the new red-black sword, the Sword of Sinew and Steel.
Yeah.
For Modern Horizons. It was the one that people were making fun of.
I think the blue-white one's even more making fun of, but yes, they were both pretty bad.
Well, I remember people specifically making fun of this one, saying, targeted Planeswalker hate, like that's super random or whatever. Well, if the format's in a place where, it's slowing down and playing grindier games, decks like Jund are good, if blue-white's good, they play a bunch of Planeswalkers, like being able to randomly snipe a Planeswalker out, having protection from the two most removal-heavy colors in the game, that's pretty good.
Yeah, and I mean, the germ token that a Batterskull makes is black.
It is.
So if you have pro-black, the germ can't block.
Right.
You deal damage and you blow up the Batterskull.
You're right.
So it's a way to answer that. You will get someone early at your modern FNM when they tap their Stoneforge and put in their Batterskull, and you're just you can't block it, blow up your Batterskull.
Yeah.
That'll happen exactly one time, but you will win that game.
Because nobody actually has the black germ token, so you just kind of forget that it's black.
Yeah. Also, a thing to know with Stoneforge going forward, right? Let's say you have Kolaghan's Command, and their last card is Batterskull.
Right.
You can let them activate Stoneforge.
Yeah. With
the trigger on the stack, kill their Stoneforge and have them discard a card.
Right.
And they had to pay their 2 mana. They didn't even get a way to deal. They didn't even get their creature to come into play, and you can have them discard it. So with the trigger on the stack, you can just make them get rid of it.
Yep. That's especially important if they have mana up, where they could return the Batterskull to hand.
Yeah.
Because Kolaghan's Command lets you blow up an artifact too.
Yeah.
But if they have mana up, then
late in the game, they have 7 mana or something, right?
Yep.
So we thought maybe Silent Clearing if the Stoneforge decks are Esperish.
Yeah, the Silent Clearing is the black-white Horizon land.
Yeah.
And I think it's the cheapest.
It was $10.
Yeah.
Maybe $8 to $10. And the other white Horizon land that was printed was Sunbaked Canyon, which is white-red.
Yep.
Which I don't think that these decks are going to be white-red.
You don't think that Mardu Stoneforge Mystic is a deck?
I mean, prove me wrong. I don't see it. I mean, if you had Faithless looting to loot it away.
Oh, and, here we go again.
And then play Unearth to get back your Stoneforge Mystic.
Yeah.
Woo! But we don't have that.
Yep.
Force of Vigor,
I think, is still criminally cheap, right?
It's $5 or something.
Yeah, the card's great.
Yeah, Force of Vigor as just a way to answer artifacts just in general.
Yeah,
is gonna be
this
good.
goes for the Wurza decks and for the Stoneforge decks, as well as, like I said, if this Blue Moon thing is a thing, you can Force of Vigor, blow up their Blood Moon.
And then get to play Magic again.
Yep.
Collector Oof.
It's going to be big against the Wurza decks.
Yep. And again, I think they're $5 or $6. I don't think they're super expensive.
Yep. It also shuts off all the equip costs for equipment.
Yeah. So even if they put in a Sword of Fire and Ice, you play your Collector Oof, and then they just didn't get to do anything.
Right. It also shuts off the bounce from Batterskull.
Yes.
So
Icing Coatl. This is different. It's more of a hedge on if you think the format's going to go fair. This is a very good fair card.
It's a great fair card.
Right? Build your own Baleful Strix is probably good enough if the format slows down.
I agree.
So at $3, it's a card that could see a lot more play and go up in value.
What are foils?
I don't know. They're shiny cards is what foils are.
Thanks.
Sure, no problem.
I wasn't sure how reasonable they were.
That is a hard-hitting analysis from me.
Woo!
While we're looking to see how much foils are, another card that might get rewarded with more fair Magic creature-based stuff is Dead of Winter.
Yeah.
You can build your own Toxic Deluge.
Right.
And it might be good enough if Wizards is promoting a bunch of creature grindfests.
Yep. So foil Ice Fang Coatls are $16.
Okay.
Maybe not speckable.
I don't know if we're going to get on those.
Yeah.
I was thinking Plague Engineer. We've already talked about how good Plague Engineer is. They're up to like $8 to $10.
Yeah.
They're not super cheap, but like that might be a card. Maybe if you want a spec / just have them.
Yeah.
Could be good just because, against like an Urza deck, you just name Thopter.
Right.
And they can't make their Thopters. Or so like it turns off Sword of the Meek.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the sword comes back, but they just like infinitely like. I want to know because the trigger goes on the stack, the creature goes away, and there's nothing to equip it to. So I don't know if it comes back.
I'm not sure. We'll have to figure that out.
Yeah, but it kills a bunch of 1/1 Thopters. They can't then just
they can't go infinite.
Yeah, they can't sack the sword and do it again. So that's good. And then if you want to take a bet, I was looking these up as we were talking. If you want to take a bet on like Death and Taxes, like mono white, or like white blue, white green aggressive decks.
Yeah.
Lean and Arbiters are $2.
Oh wow! I didn't realize they were that cheap.
Mirror and Crusaders.
Yeah.
Are $1.50.
Wow.
Mirror and Crusader 1 white for a 2/2.
Mm-hmm.
Pro black, pro green.
Yep.
If you throw a Sword of Fire and Ice on it, it's pro Jund.
It sure is.
And then Jund dies.
Well, I mean, you still have Lily, but
I'm assuming in your like white creature deck, you have more than just one creature.
Yeah.
Right. So that could be a card if you think that those are going to be like Lean and Arbiters. Even the original printing sheet, it was just printed in the most recent Commander 17.
Yeah.
That could be a card that if you think that you're going to
go after like a Death and Taxes strategy.
Yeah, if you think that kind of strategy is going to like rise up. It doesn't synergize great with Stoneforge because it says you have to pay 2 to search. Everyone has to pay 2 to search their library.
Yeah.
But it does like stop your opponent from fetching and things like that. So it can be good.
I was just thinking to myself, wow, I didn't realize these cards were so cheap. Why don't I own them already?
They're white.
And then I remember they're white, yeah.
Yeah. I think I own like 8 Lean and Arbiters.
Yeah.
Because I was like, well, this card's cheap and like might see play, so I just bought some.
Yeah.
So there are these like, I think I still have Mirror and Crusaders. I might get rid of them. I should check. But there are some cards that maybe if some white creature-based strategy becomes playable, that there are some white creature-based creatures that could be playable that aren't now.
If they are, that's super speckable if they're
they're like
sub $2.
Yeah. So like the original Scars of Mirrodin Lean and Arbiters are $2.82.
Yeah.
And the two Commander 2017 ones are $2.60.
Yeah.
So, right, you there might be a spot there where if those decks get good, that those become $8 cards.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Modern's going to be in a weird place. Like
it is going to be in a weird place.
It's not going to look like anything since I've been playing Modern.
Yeah.
Like it's just not. It's just going to be a totally different format.
Mm-hmm.
And not just because, like, right, yes, because Faithless Looting's gone, but it just feels like Wizards has come in and said, we want the games.
We want you to interact.
We want you to play the games this way.
Yeah.
I guess another deck, there's not, like, a lot of, like, spec potential, right? But, like, if you're thinking about, like, ways for the format to be fast, because Modern's always the fast format.
Yeah.
Right? Is if Tron's good, then Infect and Affinity are good.
Right.
Right? Not like Hardened Scales Affinity, like
actual
old
affinity.
School cranial plating Affinity gets really good.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, they take a hit if Jund is good,
right.
but if Tron is good, Jund isn't good.
Right.
So...
Well, it's kind of like the vicious circle, right?
Yeah.
Like Tron beats Jund beats Blue-White beats Tron. It just goes in a circle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Does Blue-White beat Tron? I thought Blue-White, like, the reason...
I thought they did.
I thought the reason that Blue-White played, like, Spreading Seas and Field of Ruin is because Tron's a god-awful matchup.
Yeah.
Because, right, it's one of those things, it's kind of like Jund, where Jund's trying to 1-for-1 them, and then, like, my top decks are going to be better. And you're like, I top-decked a Jace. And they're like, well, I top-decked an Ulamog, and I'm going to exile your things. Or,
yeah,
like,
I mean,
Ulamog's
a beating, but, like, Logic, not your Karn, like, that's fine.
Yeah.
Like, Swords your Worm Coil, that's fine.
But, like, eventually, like, the turn you don't have
Yeah.
You don't have the Logic Nard or the Cryptic, and the Karn resolves, and you're just like, oh no.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, you do have like the Jund gets beat up on by Tron gets beat up on by the aggressive creature decks, and Jund eats the aggressive creature decks, and you get back to this like rock paper scissory kind of world that has been Modern forever. Mm-hmm. And I think it might turn Modern, like Modern recently has been a super like sideboard heavy format, in that it's all graveyard, but now it might turn into more of like the way Modern used to be, where it was like, oh, people cut their Stony Silences because Affinity hasn't done good. And
time to play Affinity.
3 weeks, and then like Affinity wins the tournament, and everyone goes up to like 4 Stony Silences, and then Affinity never wins, and then we turn around and we go, oh, Affinity's not good now. Right, so it might turn into that thing where like decks pop their head up because people forget about them for a week.
So we're playing whack-a-mole in Modern.
Yeah. But it will be very different. It's gonna be super weird to just like have the only graveyard deck be like Living End.
Yeah, that's bizarre. Like, it's weird that that's the graveyard deck that survived, right?
Yeah, like there's no other graveyard deck that exists, right? Because they all were Faithless looting decks. Yeah. Right. Like Chart a Course isn't.
No. Yeah.
It's a replacement. Like there's not a replacement for it.
Yeah. So it's kind of a shame. I really wanted to play Grishol Brand in a tournament. Yeah, that's another deck that just can't be a thing. Right? Like I have like Gorya's Vengeance. Like Gorya's Vengeance has been shadow banned. Yeah. Right? Unless you like play like, remember the awful version that played like Jace Vryn's Prodigy? Yeah. Like that deck was so bad. Yeah. But I guess like get in on Obsidian Ghost Council now. Okay. One, I'm pretty sure they're cheap. Oh, they're super cheap.
But the Esper Gorya's Vengeance decks. Oh, yeah. Right? You discard Obsidat, then you bring it back with Gorya's Vengeance, and then you stack the triggers that Obsidat exiles itself. Yeah. So then you just have an Obsidat Ghost Council on turn 3. Yeah.
How you getting it in your yard, though?
Jace and Chart a Course. Oh, it used to just be Jace. Okay. Like I lost to that deck like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. But like that was one of the Gorya's that's the Gorya's Vengeance deck that doesn't play
Faithless. Gorya's Vengeances are cheap right now too.
Yeah, I mean that's a card that
they were just reprinted in Ultimate Masters.
Yeah, that's a card that shouldn't be cheap. Yeah. Let's look. Gorya's Vengeance. How much are you? From Betrayers, they're 12. Oh my god, they're $12. They were like 50. Yeah. Like I got mine for $5 and felt like a genius. Like they were 25 in March or something, 21 in March. Yep. And that's the old printing, so the new printing must be like super cheap.
Yeah, they are super cheap.
So if you want to do like a degenerate thing, like that might be like Obsidian Ghost Council times. The new printing is $6. Yep. So that could be your like thing to do.
Jaces aren't cheap though.
Are they not?
No, they're like $40. I mean, they're not super bad, but.
Oh my god. Okay. For a card that sees no play anywhere? Yeah. Good job, Wizards. Last thing we have is Arena. Mm-hmm. Right? Big change from bands.
I lied. Jace is only $23.
Okay. So the Arena stuff, most of our play was in Diamond. Mm-hmm. I think it was 40-something games in Diamond. 47. Out of, I think we had 129 games overall. 129 games overall. So about a third of them were in Diamond. Yeah. And again, no matter how hard I try, off meta is still like 25%. Yeah. But here's the time where Vampires was the top deck. Vampires was 23% of the meta game.
Wow.
So
that's Hogaak numbers.
Yeah, Vampires and off meta were the same. Yeah. Right, and then next was Bant or Simic Ramp at like 15%, and then Elementals at 13%. Okay. So this like was starting to reflect the metagame that everyone says existed. Yeah. But I also don't.
What was Kethis at?
I don't know. I don't think it was on the list, but I know I've played.
So it was off meta?
It was off meta. I've not played against it. I think a couple people have. Mm-hmm. I think Ken had it down. But I haven't seen it, which I think is super weird.
Yeah. Well, it's mythic heavy. There's a lot of mythics in that.
There's a lot of mythics, and like if you didn't have like Mox Ambers. Maybe you don't
Right.
want to like get your Mox Ambers for a couple weeks.
Right.
Like I already had Mox Ambers because I tried to play the original Esper version of the deck
Yeah.
with Rona, which because of the interface doesn't work well on Arena
Yeah.
because you never knew which Rona was the new Rona.
I think they fixed that though, didn't they?
I haven't played it since, so I just
I know they fixed it with Planeswalkers. Like they gray the old one out when the new one's
Okay.
coming in, so you know which one to pick.
Yeah, like I picked the wrong Rona so many times. I was like, I just can't play this deck.
Yeah.
I'm not smart enough. And then Platinum, we had 66 games. So I guess I was wrong. I guess we had more games than Platinum. So we had a new person, good old Thack Daddy.
Yeah, Thack Daddy.
Thack Daddy 3000. not that old 2000 model, the 3000, the future model.
That's right.
Got in there and was playing some Simic Flash. Terrible person. That deck's so annoying when you just are like, I'm never going to resolve a spell for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
Like I've had games against them where they've countered my first 6 spells, and I'm just like, okay. Here again, like here, Elementals was the most represented deck at like 25%, and then Scape Shift. Like there was no Scape Shift in like Diamond that we saw at all, and then Mono Red, which I had not played against Mono Red but like twice in the last couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so it was just a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
But again, mainly Elementals. Overall, because I think like that covers most of our bases here.
Yeah.
Overall, we had off meta again, King, but then it was Elementals and Vampires. Elementals at 17, Vampires at 12, and then Scape Shift at like 8 was the next thing, I think.
Yeah.
So again, like kind of those top 3, but we're seeing way more Elementals. I don't know if Elementals is just more fun to play on
Probably.
Arena than like Simic / like Bant Ramp, and it might be that we're rolling some of our like some of the Simic or Bant Ramp decks get rolled in with Elementals,
Could be.
where like they have a curve where they like play a what's the blue green guy?
Risen Reef.
Risen Reef, God. Risen Reef, and then maybe you kill them, or like
Yeah.
they just play a couple Risen Reefs and like a Thorn Elemental, and you don't actually like see the
Don't realize which deck
Nissa
it is.
ramp. Yeah, it could be
Yeah.
something like that. But yeah, and we had like 8% Reanimator. Oh, we're doing it.
Man.
Yeah. So we had Thack Daddy. Dieter was feeling himself this week.
Thanks, Dieter.
Yeah, Dieter was what was his? It was like when he started playing in I think platinum or gold. It was Dieter playing Feather. Then it was Yeet Yeet, I'm Deet Deet on Feather with 4 exclamation points. Then it was Yeeting and Deeting. ... You know what I'm playing.
Yeeting and deeting.
Yeeting and Deeting. So Dieter was having some fun. But I appreciate everyone who gave us stuff.
Yep.
Again, we keep saying the meta game looks kind of different than what the paper meta game is. Like I think there's just way more Elementals.
Yeah.
On Arena.
Could very well be. We
Yeah.
should also take a minute to congratulate you, right?
Well, kinda. I haven't won many games in Mythic, but
you made it.
we made Mythic again.
Yep.
On the back of Andre Strashky. Like I think he's carried me to Mythic like each time.
Yep. He's your boy.
Yeah, I started playing the historic deck, and I haven't really played that much.
Yeah.
Since I hit Mythic, I've only played 8 games. I'm like 4-4.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still like 97th or 98%. Like
Yeah.
I'm hoping that like Saturday and Sunday I can try to like make a run and get. We think it's still top 1,000 because we haven't started a new season, but I'm not 100% sure.
I'm not sure. I
So
don't
like
think
I'm gonna like gun for top 1,000.
Yeah.
If I'm feeling it. But yeah, I think that it's the Kethis deck. I don't think people have really adjusted to it a lot.
Right.
It beats up on Vampires, which I'm a fan of. Are all my wins against Vampires? Like that'd be hilarious. Yes, I have beat nothing else in Mythic but Vampires. I am 4-0 against Vampires and 0-4 against non-vampire things. I've lost to Red. I've lost to Esper.
Well, only sign on when people with vampires are playing. Only sign on when people with vampires are playing.
I wish I could figure that out. I somehow lost to some Grixis mid-range pile.
Oh.
Yeah, like stupid Dreadhorde Butcher.
Yeah.
Just like runs away with games sometimes. You're just like,
Sure
I
does.
guess I don't get to play now. You played this 2-drop garbage creature and you're like a Nicobolus deck. I don't understand where this aggressive creature is coming from. Hopefully I can get there. We will see. But I haven't played a lot. Like, just
Yeah.
the deck was really good. I think I went like 10-4 or better.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, we were busy over the weekend, so
Yeah.
stands to reason.
Yeah. The Planecation, I don't think we're going to get this out in time, but like Mono Red Calamity
Yeah.
is supposedly the best deck. I guess I should say the thing is Zendikar Landfall. When you play a land,
Oh, yeah.
if you put a land, you reveal a land, you draw it. If you reveal a creature, you put it on bottom and make a 1/1. And if you reveal a non-creature, you drain them for 1. I had my opponent like reveal a non-creature and play a Light Up the Stage on turn 1.
Whew.
Because I took a damage and then played Light Up the Stage. I was like, it's like, is there a bug? And then I was like, oh, it's how it's supposed to work. And I was super confused. I was like, what the hell's going on? But that seems like it might be the best deck. I just won, I went 6-1 with Kethis.
Yeah, I didn't play it.
Never.
Maybe I'll sign on tonight. It's still going tonight, right?
Yeah, it's going for till Wednesday.
Yeah, maybe I'll hop on tonight and do it.
It went pretty fast.
Yeah.
So aggressive decks, where your creatures are going to turn on the 1/1. So that's why Calamity is good.
Yeah, I'm in for Calamity anyway. I was playing that at the start of this season, so.
Yeah, so I think that's it. Get ready for a brand new Modern World.
Get ready for a brand new Standard World.
Yeah,
It's
Dinosaur Life.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's coming, and then it's going to rotate, so.
Yeah.
A lot going on. We've still got GP Atlanta coming up for Legacy.
Yep.
So we'll probably circle back to some Legacy content when we start testing for that.
Yeah, at least what the metagame looks like and things like that.
We ran into some personnel issues with our commander video, so that didn't happen yesterday.
Yeah.
I think
hopefully it happens, but we'll see.
Hopefully this weekend maybe. Other than that, I think we did a nice job buttoning everything up.
Yeah, get well, producer Juan.
Yeah. Please, Juan, we need you.
Yes. So with that, if you want to catch us on Twitter, tweet at us at Casual Tripod.
Yep. You can find us on Facebook at Casual Tryhard MTG. You can email us at show@casualtryhardmtg.com. Check out our YouTube channel. If you're YouTube inclined, you can find our podcast there. And I'll see if I can find out how to link videos from some of our other content. Also, we forgot to mention that we got a new follower from Scotland, right?
Yeah, we did. So we're big time. We're international. We're bigger than Haggis now in Scotland.
We're getting there.
Yeah, we're getting there.
So thanks. Tell your friends.
Yes, much appreciate it.
Yep.
So with that, I think we're done for the week.
I think so too. We'll catch you at FNM.